The sun had just begun to rise when a bloody German shepherd staggered out of the dense Wyoming wilderness, carrying a small, unconscious girl across his back. His paws were torn, his fur matted with dirt and blood, and yet his amber eyes remained sharp with purpose. Behind him, the vast forest stretched in silence, holding a secret too terrible to ignore. By the time emergency responders reached them, the dog collapsed, but not before nudging the girl gently onto the grass, safe. It took weeks to unravel the truth of what had happened, but when it came out, it didn't just shock a town, it shook the entire nation. 2 weeks earlier, the town of Willow Creek had been quiet, the kind of sleepy mountain town where neighbors knew each other by name and doors were often left unlocked. 8-year-old Emma Carter had been hiking with her father in the Grand Wilderness Reserve, a tradition they'd kept since she was old enough to walk. This year was special. Emma was finally allowed to lead the hike, with Ace by her side, their retired police K-9 who had become more family than pet. What should have been a beautiful weekend of bonding turned into a nightmare that would change everything. It happened on the second day, deep into the trail, where the forest thickens and cell service disappears. Emma had run ahead to chase a blue butterfly, her giggles echoing through the trees. Her father, Tom, had just shouted for her to slow down when the forest exploded with a scream. When he reached the clearing, Emma was gone, and Ace was nowhere in sight. A massive search began within hours. Helicopters, volunteers, rescue dogs, all combed through the forest. But the days passed with no trace. The community lit candles, tied yellow ribbons, and held their breath. Emma's mother, Rachel, clung to the last photo taken of her daughter, Emma, beaming beside Ace, her arms around his neck. "He'll never let anything happen to her," she whispered. "He'll bring her home." No one knew just how right she was. Ace, though retired from duty, still bore the instincts of a trained protector. When Emma was grabbed by a stranger in the forest, a man who had been living off-grid and had a past the town never knew about, Ace had lunged with the fury of 10 dogs. He fought off the attacker, taking wounds in the process, and stayed by Emma's side after she fell during their escape, breaking her leg on the rocky slope. She was in pain, scared, and cold. But she had Ace. For 12 days, he protected her. When she cried from thirst, he found water in a stream. When she trembled at night, he curled around her to keep her warm. And when she could no longer walk, he let her climb onto his back and carried her. For 47 miles, through rain, across rivers, over steep ridges, he carried her, never stopping for more than a few hours, always pushing forward. Emma drifted in and out of consciousness, her little hands clutching his fur, whispering, "Good boy, you're my hero." But it wasn't just a survival story. It was what Ace revealed when they were finally found that rocked the country. As emergency crews followed the trail Ace had come from, they uncovered the hidden camp where Emma had been held, and evidence of other children who had gone missing in nearby counties over the past decade. Journals, old belongings, and DNA linked to 4 unsolved cases were found there. Emma, through whispers and tears, told them what little she remembered, the man's threats, the cages, the children's names. It cracked open an investigation that would expose a horrifying trafficking ring operating in remote areas of the country. Ace had not just saved a life. He had torn the mask off a hidden evil. The nation grieved and raged. Candlelight vigils turned into marches. Laws were passed to improve national tracking of missing children and tighten background checks for people living near wilderness reserves. The FBI launched new task forces. But more than anything, people looked to Ace, the wounded, loyal dog who never gave up. He was given a hero's medal, flown to D.C. where Congress stood in ovation, and honored in schools and parades. But he never cared for cameras or applause. He only wanted to be near Emma. After months of recovery, both girl and dog healed together. Emma would walk with a slight limp, but she never stopped smiling when Ace was near. She wrote a children's book about their journey called, Ace Carries Me Home. It became a bestseller, read aloud in classrooms across America. The final line of her book read, "Some heroes don't wear capes, they have 4 paws, a wagging tail, and a heart big enough to carry the world." Years later, when Ace passed peacefully in his sleep at the age of 13, the entire town of Willow Creek turned out for his memorial. Children wore T-shirts with his paw print and Emma, now a teenager, stood on stage, holding back tears. "He didn't just save me," she said. "He showed us that courage doesn't come from strength, it comes from love." And in that quiet mountain town, where tragedy once echoed, there grew a legacy of hope, all because one dog walked 47 miles to bring a little girl back, and exposed a darkness that could no longer hide. And in his steps, the world moved forward.